Need to get involved. They're going to push for these kill points. They're going to have to because the finals dreams are on the line right now. Miramar is calling. D-Gon, let's get into it.
Yeah, again, today's maps, Erangel, Miramar, then Sandhawk. No repeats today, so you're done and dusted. A lot of teams usually have only one or two maps that they're very comfortable with. So all those teams that were comfortable on Erangel and didn't get the circle they wanted, they got to pick it up now. It's another very favorable plane path here over Miramar, so everyone should be able to get to the drop spot that they want to.
Yeah, once again, this is actually an even more fair plane than the one that we had on Erangel, so we saw maybe a little bit of early game action. We might not even have to see that here. There so many more places you can drop. It's easier to drop away from your opponents, and this plane path makes those goals even more accessible.
Yeah, so all the way up here, Cool2, BG, and Square One hopping right down next to each other. Well, we touched on it a bit earlier. If you're one of these teams scrapping for points or possibly out already, you could be dropping hot. Maybe surprising a team or two. And possibly surprising yourself, being like, hey, maybe we're not out of it. Maybe we can drop a couple 20 bombs.
So, and this is something that, I don't know, maybe obviously commentators aren't players. We have a different perspective. But It's been said throughout Battle Royales so often of, like, why don't these teams start to hot drop earlier? If you do ever see a hot drop for points, it's sometimes, like, even as far as the final game. But if you're a team that is really struggling, if you try and play the same game that hasn't been working so far in the competition, in the event, I mean, what's suddenly going to make it work out differently? Go for those aggressive plays and get the points, and so you can at least give yourself a shot to shoot up those leaderboards.
I'm going to chime in here, boys, because A, I agree with that. I want to see teams taking more risks in these games. And B, oh boy, that circle is 50% blue.
Yeah. It's a bit rough one.
Yay, Puerto Pariso. Give me the island circles. Back in, and Cameron knows this, back in PC PUBG, there was like a couple of times where it would just land on that island all the way on the right side. And who was it? Was it Lazarus that just jumped early over to that island just to score points? Yeah, so this is possible, and it would start all the way in the blue if there was an island circle to close it out. Is it likely? Very much not likely. But, I wouldn't be bad if I'm looking at real estate over in Impala and Puerto Pariso, just in case.
Yeah, beachfront property. It's hot. It's hot this season. I guess, you want to get right down there early. No, I think this is huge because game number 1 saw the best opening plane path, opening circle you could want. It was a go do whatever you want situation. And now we get the complete and polar opposite. I love the fact that these circles are testing teams, testing their early game decision making, their late game decision making. This feels good. This feels like a challenge. This feels like a finals worthy situation.
And what's great is that there's not a single team that is looting up on that East Coast just by default. The closest team to what you would call the center of that circle, that's an argument you can make because the water makes what is actually center a little different, but is in Los Leones.
Yeah, so that would be Square One and Cool2. I was just saying, that was just Square One and Cool2, the two teams that are closest, and those are teams that are kind of vying for a spot. Maybe Cool2, I think that helps out a ton, but Square One, that's going to be hugely helpful for them. There are really no major contenders in that spot.
Yeah, so if they can just get there early, set up shop, position strongly, control their area strongly. I don't know if that's a grammatically proper usage of the English language, but I feel like my point has made its way across to the audience's ears, and that's really what communication is all about. Talk good, think less.
Well, if you talk bad, it makes them think more here, and hopefully, some of these teams are talking good so they can think more. As Cool2, Square One, taking a peek on my mini map here. Nefarious, one of those teams on the cusp, actually has the southernmost spot outside of Los Leones, so they're going to be good. Teams that have to rotate in that are on the outside, Valhalla has to rotate in, ESG has to rotate in, Omen Elite after that terrible in terms of score game that they had have to rotate on in, as well as G25, Wildcard, and 303. 303 again. They keep dropping right next to Wildcard and making their life very, very difficult. 303, successful esports organization, definitely in the PUBG scene, but still, with an opportunity in front of them, they've got themselves at least in double digits now in terms of points, but they're going to need a couple of pop-off games to get themselves even in the conversation.
And I think given the the panning that they received I'm not talking about the critics, I'm literal, there's a literal cast iron pan involved in game number 1. I think they're going to want to stay. As soon as they realize the wild card's involved over there, they're going to want to rethink some of their choices as well. Instead, it's Omen Elite getting involved as you look towards the kill feed, and that's 303 taking some initial damage. Oh my goodness. I don't mean to jinx you guys, but that's on me. That's my bad, guys.
That's your bad. Yeah.
That's my bad.
All complaints to Paul.
Yeah, Zeke on a rotation just getting caught out. And I feel like that's what we see a lot in Miramar. It's teams on rotations getting caught because the map is so big, because there's a lot of bouncy, barren terrain. And so you'll send your scout out by himself, and when he gets caught in a way and in a position that doesn't allow the rest of his team to cover. So every team sends out scouts, every team rotates not equally, but in a way where a teammate can cover or the rest of the team can come on in. So when mistakes are made, some of these less, I guess, experienced teams will rotate and just lose one and be like, well, now we know they're there. Can't help you with gunfights later on.
Did their job. To be fair, they found where the enemy was. So ultimately, can you really criticize them that much? Oh, hey, look, Avocado has an open shot.
Oh!
Okay. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Free kill.
Nefarious.
Thank you very much. I'll take that.
That is not what Nefarious wants, but
My name is Stevo, and welcome to Miramar.
That's good. That was a good one. You made a good one.
Yeah. First one of the day. Only one of the day. Woo!
You got a few jokes left in there. I trust.
We're going to try. I had that Katy Perry one earlier. That was pretty good.
That was all right. That was all right.
Don't egg him on too much.
Sorry.
You got to be careful for what you're asking for, Kim.
Yeah, it's your first day. We'll give you a fair warning.
Well, no, just to touch on that point of scouting real quick, it can be very, very difficult in this game. And what you're saying about how when you scout, you want to be so far ahead that if you get caught off, your teammates don't also go up in flames with you, but you don't want to be so far ahead that your teammates can't help you out and trade. But also some of the easiest ways of doing that are doing what I call pit stops, is where you stop on a hill, actually visually scan ahead of you. It could be a little difficult in third person with the way that defenders can be hiding, but there are all these different methods to be able to scout effectively. Can't always execute perfectly, but there are ways to increase the effectiveness.
So we'll follow along with tempo. They've got to be happy with the way that they salvaged points in that last game. Again, maybe not happy with the way they lost a member early, but 3v4 against Omen Elite. You knew what you're getting yourself into and end up doing pretty good. I like the way that happens. And Tensa! Daddy Tensa has showed up and gave a spanking to King A. Stop shooting at me with this little dinky gun. I'll pop you with the M24.
That's how you send a message. Ultimately, if there's a message that you want to send, that's the one that'll make everyone else shut up. And okay, all right, understood. I'll stop peeking now.
Yeah, it's just Tribe over there picking a little bit of fight, but Cool 2 getting an early jump onto Rain. Again, yeah. Rain going down early. Cool 2 BGBG. Another one of these teams on the cusp. Get some much needed points to kick things off here.
And we're seeing once again, Tempo Storm not having the luck, losing one member early once again. You mentioned it, Degon, the idea of salvaging points. But at this stage in the game, you don't want to be in salvage mode. You want to be at a point where you can dictate a pace, where you're comfortable enough on these rotations to know, like, look, we can take these. We don't have to constantly play defensive. I mean, it worked out for them in game number 1. To be fair, Omen Elite going for the very clearly, the highlight reel play, not paying off for them. Instead, one going into the, Tempo's pockets. But it always seems like Tempo is finding the other top teams in the lobby. I think a lot of this, and I've touched on this last week, there are sometimes, objectively better places to be in these circles. There are objectively better pieces of terrain, of real estate that you want to control, and all these top teams have identified them, which is why we constantly see them butting heads around here, because they all know where the best place to be is, and they're all trying to fight for it. And Cameron, this is something that is sort of ubiquitous in all battle royales, the idea of premium real estate, and especially in a map like Miramar, you've got these high ground vantage points. They are very clearly marked for teams who know what to look for.
Yeah, and that's why when I mentioned earlier on, speed is incredibly important because you want to be able to get to these positions first. But at the same time, those concepts are kind of inherently self-balancing, because when everyone is going for the strong positions, well, you're going to have to fight for them, and sure, you might get some good kill points, but then when you're a team who's going for a weaker position, but you're just sitting pretty, you're climbing up the placement points without having to do a lot of work at all, which can be a strategy. Those positions will be weaker for certain reasons. It's not like it will suddenly become a better decision. But ultimately, it's like, do you want to go for kill points, or do you want to go play slow early game, go for placements, and then start getting those kills in the end?
Yeah, Joey now with Glacier. This is a team that had a couple of good showings, I think, in week number 1, but definitely went a lot quieter and find themselves on the bottom half. Glacier need to turn it on here. Joey and the rest of this squad have been picking up the amount of scrims they've been playing, how many leagues they're in. And so I expect a little more out of this team. I think this is a team that should be on the cusp. I think it's either them or Nefarious that will be fighting for one of those final slots here when it's all said and done. And really, it depends on their play here. With such a wonky circle, Glacier already inside the zone, they better be doing their best to score these points as the circle still in the river. Lots are still in the ocean. About half of it, maybe like 40% of it's on the river. No island circle here, but this is a weird shift.
Endgame are loving this too. But as our 303, who are pretty much center of the playable area right now, everyone also on the northeast side is going to get real hectic. And Joey, he finds that out firsthand. Does he even have a teammate to help revive him? Because I think Extreme Slayers might just be going to secure that kill. Nope, they're actually going after the circle. Never mind.
Yeah, that was a little hectic. It was a little hectic to start things out. He peaked very quickly, and Extreme Slayer is like, nope, we know where you're at. Go away. So Joey,
stop.
Down early.
Speaking of down, Juicy, I think, getting knocked there in the kill feed as well. Glacier playing the slow, makes sense for the name, is going to get their teammate up though. And now we're seeing Square One getting the knock onto Angry as well. Omen in a potentially rough situation is Ice is going to look to move on in and try and maybe convert on some of these downs they've been executing here. And this might be disastrous for Omen after a rough start in game number 1. They need to continue to do well here. They're looking really solid in terms of points, but they want to also be denying these points to other teams. And Dagon, you can't do that if you're dead.
Yeah, Spooky leading the way here, and you rarely see that. Nico losing a head-to-head gunfight. Great job by Spooky and the rest of Square One showing some aggression. And with Tribe up top, what a shot by Bobo! Is that the Winchester? That is crazy! That was sick! They've been asking for this in PMPL scrims, and Bobo saying, hey, sign me up for a PMPL squad. I'll go ahead and show it off here in Mobile Open, knocking down another member of Tribe. Again, Tribe just getting swatted away by all these sniper rifles.
Oh, God. I was about to say, Tribe was actually going to be helping out Omen there by kind of being a little bit of a big brother from the high ground, but doesn't even matter. Does not even matter. They are going to push on in. They will pop the head off of anyone and everyone and anyone in front of them in order to get these kills, in order to get these placements.
My goodness.
I'm still just, what a shot by Bobo to clear things out. Now Juicy, looking Juicy, running himself all the way through the apartment, the house, able to get one, but gets taken down. Telly's still alive on the cross, but that is Omen Elite. They are out. Are they the first team out? I think they're the first team out here. Oh my gosh.
Oh me, oh my. Omen, I thought it was going to be the perfect pinch. They had the trap. They had the Uzi's point blank range, so they were going to collapse, but Square One just able to throw bodies at the problem. Doing that so good. And even Juicy with the pre-fire and going around the corner, playing the angles well in third person. You got to give the props where they're due, but there were just too many casualties taken early. And once again, Omen have found themselves now in a rough position. If they weren't already so good on the leaderboard, I would be legitimately concerned. But this is huge for the teams who are on the cusp. One of the top fraggers in the lobby is gone. There are now so many more points available up for grabs. This is an opportunity for some of these mid-tier teams.
If, Wildcard don't soak up all those points as well, because we want to talk about Sponge. I think Wildcard are probably the biggest sponges I've ever seen in the ocean.
Yeah, Wildcard is, they were made in the ocean. They're corals. Wait, they don't soak anything up. They prick things. Never mind.
There's an analogy in there somewhere. We'll find it.
Yeah, we'll find it later.
Yeah.
Ah, man, just this fight with Square One, taking it to Omen Elite, and again, just a 1v1 Nico peek in the corner. It was just crazy.
Stop giving this man ghillie suits.
Oh no, we saw what happened last time. No one was safe.
They lost last time,
They did. It was so close, but it was still he did a lot of work. All right,
They
give
were
this
two
man props.
members with like 9 teams up. I think that ghillie suit was worth it.
I know. It's true. Mario here, Extreme, Slayers team a little bit around him, but I think they're a bit close here to Endgame. This is actually a pretty good split by Iron Sight there. The rest of his team, I think, we're all holed up in a compound, a pretty big compound as well. But he's going to be out there on the ridge trying to scout out for information. This is, if I'm not mistaken, closer towards the edge, not of the circle, but of the playable area of the land. And so he feels that there's a little more freedom for him to move around without getting popped. And I think that's a fair assessment, at least this early in the game.
Yeah, Ironside trying to figure out where Endgame can really stamp their authority into the finals here. You just look down that roster of Ironside, Kato, Everfury, those 3 guys, ton of experience. Diablo X has been hanging around with a couple rosters as well. And so I'm still surprised that this team came together the way it came together, because there's been times where organizations expand and contract. Sometimes they're there, sometimes there's not. So there isn't always a home for a team for all of the top players. And I think this is a really interesting one. But you want to make sure that if you are Endgame, you continue not to be like, okay, we did well in week 1. You want to stick it to them. Go in there, beat Omen Elite, saying, hey, look, we have more points than you going into it. That feels good. No one's really going to catch Wildcard. Wildcard are the sponge coral of Group 1. But for Endgame, this is a squad where I think they can make a statement going into it, a higher position, not just barely qualify.
Endgame is one of these teams that just because they've been in the scene for so long, because they've been top players on all of these top teams, they've accumulated this fan base. They're just ravenous right now. And oh no, I saw Russell get knocked in the kill feed. The Baba Yaga round 2 dreams are maybe coming to an end here at the central circle now. Oh, G25. Okay. Simplicity, keeping the team alive. This is important because we could see more action here on the northeast side of the circle as about 5 teams are all vying for this real estate. Valhalla holding things strong in the south, but Endgame right in the middle. Going to keep this fun. Now we're jumping on board with some of these teams who are on the cusp. Like I mentioned before, this is their opportunity to step up. We're back with Minwoo, who after that performance in game number 1, I want to see what he can do.
Yeah, again, Minwoo just so massive as the circle centers up. A lot of teams on the outside here, and this is where it gets uncomfortable. Then I feel like there aren't a lot of compounds to play on. It's a lot of just hills, ridges, maybe a bit of a cliff that you're playing on, and you got to build your own forts, kind of like what Simplicity are doing right now.
Yeah, but this is also a good opportunity to take these engagements with opponents without as big of a threat of another team coming in and swooping in on you, third-partying on your position. You want to be able to take these now, clear out your immediate space, because you're going to have to fight them eventually, right? It's all about finding that opening. You don't just want to brainless barrel into them, and I think G25 see that risk. You already see them in the vehicles pulling out of it. Pretender's going to toss a couple of grenades out to perhaps stall any potential push, but Simplicity, they seem to be sneaking ever forward on this, trying to find the lineup, trying to find the line of sight onto these G25 players.
Yeah, and G25, they've had a tough rotation. Didn't get to talk about it too much, but I think they had ESG on them the whole time as they were rotating north to south to get into the circle, and they were just constantly fighting them off. And now they finally get themselves in the circle, and they're welcomed by Simplicity, who've caught lightning in a bottle. And G25, they were our top qualifiers across all of Mobile Open, and if they go out here into a fight with Simplicity, they might be outside of the qualifying race. Here we go, though. Pretender. Oh, he doesn't get the jump. You can't kill Russell today. He's untouchable. As I say that, he gets shot a couple times, but you can't finish him off. Russell is popping off even with the peeker's advantage that Pretender had.
Ooh, is Killswitch going to be able to get the shots before the first aid goes off? And that might be Russell finally going down. My goodness, somebody stop this man. And it took 2 members to get it done from G25. But Simplicity still has Minu up. They still have all 3 members in pretty good standing. So we'll see if they're able to continue on his legacy, trying to get some redemption onto Killswitch. He's now forced to hide in a shack.
You see G25 actually being forced away despite getting that good kill onto Russell. This entire time, Simplicity has been pushing them into a tighter and tighter quarter. Good peek by PG, but look how close they get on the minimap to other squads who are already looking at their position, looking at their angle. It's actually going to be a knock. PG is going to try and go for the revive. My point is, nice kill on Russell, but they're in a really rough position.
Yeah, Simplicity aiming down here. They can't stay too long. Both them and G25 will have to rotate. Circle will be pushing on in a minute and 40. And with only 2 teams out, now's not the time where you want to go out. So a lot of these fights that are distance fights and you kind of dink and dunk just a little bit here, it feels like spend a little bit of time doing that. But after that, you got to go. You got to get yourself in. And if the team that you're shooting at isn't going to prohibit you from getting in, it feels like a waste, doesn't it, Cammy?
I mean, it's all about getting those points. It's all about trying to get, as you mentioned, into the circle. You have to be able to execute on the engagements that you find. Sure, if you get a couple of knocks, but then you still can't get in the circle, well, you got to push more onto that. And that's why you want to be able to work as a team. And if you see an opportunity, just send it in and try and take that team fight.
ESG, here's another team. Bottom half of the leaderboard. Haven't gotten to say their names too much. Tiger, Brian, Natsu, and Brutal on the killing side of things. We've seen them a lot on the victim side of things, but they're 4 up, and they're in the circle. They got a nice little spot and are going with the 2-2 split.
Well, splits can be risky, and as you mentioned, they've been on the receiving end of a bit of damage. Maybe perhaps playing in as a more tight-knit group might be on the cards for them.
Guess we'll find out as Simplicity and Lolo, they move on forward, and Lolo with the AWM scanning around, seeing if he can find anything. Taking a couple of early shots here. I think that was at Nefarious. I don't remember who that was at, but
yep.
As we cut away early, you've seen King A get a couple of spankings early, but he's still alive. That helmet barely alive. Fully read it up, and now Lolo trying to get those shots. He switched on over, 1 shot at a time. Maybe not his vibe. Finally, the jump here by Tribe onto Tempo Storm. He's like, you remember when you sniped me? I'm going to shoot a bajillion bullets at you right now. As C got able to blow up HH24 and Spectre. And so a bit of revenge. And Tribe now getting pushed from different corners. They realize they've got Tempo down there in front of them, but to the side, Square One willing to push on up. The guys that slayed Omen Elite earlier.
There you are. And now Tribe Gaming, of course, one of these top teams coming in terms of ESL Mobile Open standing. They're veterans, having been to multiple events in the past. Memo and crew are going to look to continue and build upon the legacy that they started here. Definitely one of these teams to watch. But as the circle is closing in, it's going to be a CQB, and I mean this in the closest sense of the terms, as Ghosty and the crew are pushing on in. And now it is Lolo once more with the full send, but he is just gone. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what happens there as Irish goes down as well.
Yeah, that was Simplicity finally getting their aggression flipped on top of them. Lolo running himself over, and that's Simplicity out in 14th place. So lightning in a bottle, but bottle's not a good thing to store things because lightning's now gone. Simplicity out in 14th, and a little bit more breathing room for the teams behind them in terms of the standings.
Not breathing room for the teams around their immediate death area, because look how tight it is on this corner. And the reason why there's so many teams here is because they're able to hide out with all these nooks and valleys and crevices that they're able to prone down in. But they're not in the circle anymore. They're all going to have to move, all going to have to push in through each other. And you might come out over a hill running from the blue, look to your left, and realize that there's another team also running parallel to you. And what do you do in that position? Do you fight? Do you keep running from the blue? It's very chaotic. And so I want to see teams start to move now. Don't wait for the last second like it looked like Simplicity.
Seeing Slicky pushing in now, point blank range, able to get the first down. The rest of the team is there. Perfect rotation. Slicky instead this time being the entry fragger going in. We've seen his long range shots. We know how potent they can be, but Enigma's running to another squad, backing right on up, and it's Glacier here. And now Wildcard needed to reevaluate this one, losing one teammate, but not giving up any more. Instead of going for a full push here, they're just going to slow down, heal, and see if they can take this fight on their own terms.
Yeah, one of those moments where it kind of feels like Glacier's like, thank you very much. They welcomed them with open arms and didn't have to do too much to gather those points. And Wildcard, they're upset. They look like they got themselves out of trouble. Now Ghosty sends it on the buggy. He'll be safe. Slicky not able to land those shots, and Wildcard forced to run uphill. Not the greatest decision, but they don't have a lot of other options.
I think they have a vehicle to work with, but is that a nade coming in?
That looked like a nade.
Close one. That was a close one. Spanish is also to crawl in. Look how tight everything is around this single plane area.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
very uncomfortable. I am very uncomfortable watching this for the players. I can only imagine what it's like right now playing in it. You're just looking all over the place. There's like, there's nowhere for me to go right now. If you run over this ridge, everybody can see. Oh, Jesus showing up in the form of an Uzi. Able to pick. Was he able to pick that one up? I think he was able to pick that one up. The kill feed is just going crazy right now. It's Brutal and Wildcard actually trading back and forth. Acer's able to finish off Natsu. Slicky still alive and holding on for a little bit longer. Trying to get the first aid, and he's probably going to Bronco this one right on in. Let's follow along. Oh, he's going to first aid. Maybe he's actually just going to heal strat this one up. He only has 2 first aids, but there are a lot of members dying around him. I actually don't mind this call. There was 30 people when he hopped into the truck. Now there's 25. That's at least one team they've passed, as Square One will be picking up a couple kills on Nefarious. Extreme Slayer's getting knocked out as well. Slicky going for the send, hitting a couple of bumps. He's able to get himself in, misses Alucard, parks right next to him, picks up the point. Slicky doing the crazy Wildcard things that we've come to know and love, still alive for a little bit longer, and no one has a jump on him. What the heck is going on?
I don't know what to say there. There's no time not to in the blue. Once he ran out, he just, as we said, sent it in. I don't know how long he's going to be able to survive in that position, but he has a vehicle to hide behind. That could use as hard cover. Here on the southwest side, 303 trying to hold on.
Get that man a scope.
Yeah, Lucky. Not quite Lucky. Able. Oh, yes, he is Lucky. Oh, no, it's Valhalla stealing away the points from Lucky. And 303 still alive. 0 kills. They have 0 points right now. But they've got themselves this nice ridge and are trying to push Valhalla off of it. There are a couple members of Col2 BGBG behind them. But right now, Valhalla, just right now in the safe lane. You can see Extreme Slayer's in a vehicle shoving it on in. And now Valhalla has dropped. Valhalla has fallen. Who will be reclaiming the space on top of the hill?
303 is looking to be like a claim to that one, but Col2 BGBG is here as well. Lucky not quite able to find these first shots, but the rest of the team needs to decide if they are going to take this push. They need to do it right now because Mo is here keeping his teammate alive. Lux is going in. Now the rest of the teams are there. Draven taking shots going on the flank. This actually be massive for Mo. He's hiding out of the corner, able to pick another one here. Point blank range. Wants to try to secure as many of these kills as physically possible. And now this is Valhalla holding strong through this, taking advantage of the damage the other teams are dishing on out and picking up these kills. And King and crew are laying claim to their tower. They will not give it up so easily. And now we are down to only 5 teams, but Square One's in this. 303 is here as well. But this is like a game of the underdogs now. These mid-level teams are fighting for dominance, D-Gon.
Yeah, that was a hectic set of events. And there it is. Tasty has a dream lineup there on square one. Not quite able to finish anyone off, but the rest of the team coming on in, seeing if they can finish a couple of members. Valhalla eliminating Extreme Slayers. Only 4 teams left alive right now. 303, Valhalla, Square One, and another team yet to be named. I'll see it in just a second. It's a team, I think, doing a heal strat on the outside, whoever team 9 is. It's Seagut. Seagut's still alive for Tribe. Eventually, King A had enough spankings. He ended up falling. But Seagut's still alive, has an opportunity to work himself on in there because there are so many teams on this side of the hill, and they're all focusing each other.
I mean, I think if Seagut plays this right, he can continue to just stay alive and try and live through this. The spraying and praying going on through, and God is trying to find the shots onto ice. Finally getting the ADS in, but 303 is a little battered and bruised. They need to rethink this one. Both of these teams just trading magazines back and forth.
Yeah, this is
Drop for 5. It's been a bloody battle, as you said. I don't know if any one team has really come out on top of it. Valhalla, the whole time, they haven't had to worry about it. No one wants to push their compound. They defended it so successfully. I think it just intimidated 303. I say that right when Lucky comes in and gets a drop on the poke. Forced away from square one.
Yeah, Tasty peeking over the corner, using the cement wall. King hanging over there for a little bit longer, but Valhalla down to 1.5 members. Mo is down, but I don't think King's going to be getting the revive anytime soon. And take a look at Seagut. He's worked his way on in. Still furthest outside the circle. Circle is currently towards square one. They have the best spot, but Seagut giving himself an opportunity to hang out, has himself hard cover, and it does look like 303 will be rotating themselves into the house or near the house. So Seagut will be having company over very soon. King taking a peek, using the cement wall yet again. He has a shack to hide behind. Nade right next to it. That's a Molotov. We've seen a lot of Molly plays the last couple of weeks of PUBG Mobile. And Tasty, peeking around the corner. Seagut sees him, and Seagut gets himself the kill. And now they realize, there's a third party in this house as the circle's coming in. This is the distraction that Valhalla could possibly be using to get themselves into the top 3. Look how close Lucky is with King. God now rotating on in. But what's a king to a god? We'll get to find out in just a second. Turning around the corner, and King gets the jump onto God. But then turning around, Lucky finally lives up to his name, and Seagut will just heal on up. Will he be able to heal on up to second place? Yes, he will. And Tribe climb their way to second place. Square one hold for such a long time. They're able to get themselves the chicken dinner after a hectic Miramar map where everybody was fighting everybody. Valhalla showing up, Square One showing up, getting some points here for Tribe that need to secure their spot. That was a lot of teams in the back jumping over some of the teams in the front in this match. What a game.
Absolutely incredible. At the end, it was just the rising stars of Group 1 showing up in a big way, able to keep those key members alive, not taking necessarily some of those fights earlier on, saving their party members for those final engages and some decent rotations. Valhalla was down on the bottom of that. That's where they landed. They stayed there the whole time, and they played it slow and steady. They got themselves into a great spot. Fantastic game number 2. Degon, Cameron, take us through that last match with our Xperia highlights. Cameron, I'll start with you. That was a fantastic match.
It really was. And even though, obviously, placement points, as Degon mentioned at the very beginning of the day, do drop off at a certain point, the kills were evenly spread around all of the teams that were in, basically top 5 of this game. So we could see a big mix-up and a big rising tide, as you mentioned, of these teams that are really trying to secure their spot in the top 16. I feel a little bad that Simplicity weren't able to continue their dominance. Russell tried so hard there, but it's a very bloody match in these hills.
Yeah, this was man, these hills were very different. I think we've seen a lot of matches finish to the southwest, but this is the first time we've seen it finish to the southeast portion of Miramar, where there was nowhere for anyone to go. And if you did, it was going to have to be such a long send. You needed a vehicle like what Slicky did. And look how close Slicky was to falling. He first aided on up as long as he could. His send was at the perfect time. And it moved up wildcard a lot more points than what they originally would have gotten. And look how close God was in this gunfight with Ice. That's how this game was. Constantly back and forth, both teams pushing themselves to the brink. It was a lot of fun to watch. A lot of fun.
That I do have to criticize one thing. That peak by 303 behind the shack. I feel like they knew that King was behind that shack. But the fact that they peaked one at a time, it could have easily gone King's way. It could have easily gotten a double kill. But fortunately, they were able to drop him out, get third place, not second like they were hoping because of the heal strat and attack behind them. But still, it was such a chaotic ending. You can't really fault them too much for that.